Okay, so we are making the top five books I read in 2022. To be honest, I didn't read as many books as I wanted to read, so it's not like I have so many books to pick from, but either way, I'm gonna do it. And plus, I read some books that were okay, but not really magnificent as well, so I'm just gonna go there. I'm gonna have to pick, yeah. Okay, so this is going to be here. This is probably here. Yeah. Okay, first book is The Last Magnicide, El Último Magnicidio. It's a Paraguayan author, Andrés Colman Gutierrez, and it analyzes one of the most significant crises that Paraguay has had in the last couple of years, not couple, but like in the last decades, which was the assassination of what was who was the vice president in 1998, and it created an enormous scandalous, and people started to manifest and riot because it's just crazy shit. And if I mean, if this happened somewhere else, I would be fascinated by it either way. So it happened in my country, and I remember when it happened. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed reading this. It's very short and well, good read. Yeah, top five. Okay, number four, I have Bittersweet or Agridulce by Susan Cain. Okay, so this book is important to me, very important, actually, very, very important. And it's so interesting how this happens to me because um, she has written two books. The first book she wrote, Susan Cain, that is, it's called Quiet, the Power of Introverts. And even though I remember I read it when it was probably around 21, or yeah, and it was very important for me because with that book, I realized that my introversion, it was not like a character defect. I always thought it was. I was very weirded by how I did not feel like I had like low self-esteem or something. But for some reason, I just really didn't want to interact with other people, and I didn't want to speak my mind. And it was not because um, I was ashamed of me. It was just an awkwardness about that. And not only awkwardness, but like I prefer being reserved. And the other thing is that I mean, I recharge batteries by being alone. And extroverts do the opposite. They recharge their battery when they're with other people. So yeah, and it was super important. I didn't like that book that much. I don't remember why. I have to reread it. But I remember giving it maybe a 3 out of 5 or a 2 out of 5. I don't know. But this book, I think I gave 4 out of 5. And it's again something super important to me because it's about the force of melancholy in a world that um, that how to say that, like it runs away from sadness. And if you're a Lana Del Rey fan, for example, you would understand what this means. There is just something super important about melancholy and sadness, and being able to be moved to tears by this region of the set of emotions that it's to be sad about things. And I always thought that that was too related to my depression, but it's not. And I think it's very, very powerful because once you understand that, you embrace it and you enjoy it a little bit more. And because I was always worried about this tendency I had about of going for sad music, sad movies, sad stories, things like that, more than like the happy bubbly thing. It was because of my depression, but it really isn't. And her thesis is super interesting, even though I would, I mean, I have kind of a different take on it, but it is interesting and is the source of beauty, this melancholy that we're talking about, or at least is super related to it. And yeah, I really liked it. I loved the story she had with her mother. That's very beautiful. With his grandfather as well, her grandfather. She talks more about her grandfather, I think, in the previous book, but I'm not sure. But it's very beautiful. If you are like a melancholic person, I think this book will resonate with you. There are some things that, again, I don't quite understand the way she chooses her chapters, but that's fine. I mean, I just take it and I enjoyed it. So, yeah, 4 out of 5. On the same vein, or not on the same vein, I reread this book, Darkness Visible by William Styron. This book is a pioneer book. This person was a very important writer, and he suffered. He fell victim to a crippling and almost suicidal depression, and he talks about it in this book, and I like it so much because it has such a beautiful ending, and it's very hopeful. And especially if you are an intellectual, which mean it doesn't mean that you're smart. It just means that you like thinking about things in terms of ideas. If you're like that, then this book is for you. And you've dealt with a little bit of depression or somebody that you are very close to, um, because it's a very intellectual, it's an intellectualization of that state that's nothing to joke about, and it's an account of his own personal experience, and I loved it so much. Actually, it's the second time I read it, and it doesn't happen a lot. I don't reread books very often. So this is in the third place. Loved it. Highly recommend it. 5 out of 5. Next book, Theories of Everything by John D. Barrow. Okay, second book has so many of these notes. I love physics so much. It's my first love, maybe not my first love, but oh my god. Okay, so as everybody knows, um, physics has this holy grail that is a theory of everything. And basically, somehow, maybe it's arguable that physics in general, the quest for understanding nature, um, it's about trying to converge different explanations into a whole explanation, and it just talks about all the different approaches to this, and it is not an easy book, and I am a physicist, sort of. I mean, I have a BS, a bachelor's degree in physics, but it's not very easy. I mean, you have to take your time. I love all my notes. This is so beautiful. Oh my God. I love looking at my notes. Um, let's just, yeah. Somos conscientes del hecho de que no importa cuán a menudo los científicos nos digan que las leyes de la naturaleza son sencillas, simétricas y elegantes, el mundo real no lo es. Okay, well, number 2. Loved it, enjoyed it, took so many notes. This is amazing. Theories of Everything by John D. Barrow. I need to read more of physics. I want to read more physics this year. Number 1, a book that made me cry my eyes out. La sombra del viento by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I started reading this book 2 years ago and I put it on a pause and then I restarted it last year, and it was such an amazing story. Love it so much. Well, yes, if you like books, this is a beautiful story. It's sort of also, it's the location is in Barcelona, and back and forth. There is a lot of the Civil War things. The effects of the Civil War on people's lives. But I loved it. I loved it so much. I cried so much. It was a recommendation of a friend of mine. One of the characters is just a lovable human being, and I loved it so much. I can't say anything else, but yeah, top 5.